Hey Beech graphs. In order to get really good at interpreting graphs and charts, we're going to need to develop an important skill. That is to read and interpret scales. Let me show you what I mean by a scale. A scale is often a line, sometimes in a straight, sometimes curved, sometimes going horizontally, sometimes going vertically, sometimes even going round in a complete circle, which has been divided into equal sections. Scales are used for a number of purposes, but their main purpose is to measure things. They measure how many or how much of something there is. Now, scales can appear in a few different ways. Because in year 2, we learn our 1s, 2s, 5s, and 10 times table, the scales that we interpret in this set of activities are going to be all scales which are jumping up in either 1s, or 2s, or 5s, or 10s. And if we keep that in mind, that can be really helpful in helping us to solve the problems which we're going to face. Okay, so this is probably the most simple scale you're ever going to come across. It's jumping up in jumps of 1, and importantly, every single division on the scale is numbered. This means that if our arrow was pointing to here, it'd be easy to interpret this as 8. So it might say, for example, how many kilograms does this package weigh? If the arrow on the scales went up to 8, you'd know it was 8 kilograms. If the arrow went to 4, you'd know it was 4 kilograms. If the arrow went to 11, it was 11 kilograms. This is a really easy scale to interpret. This scale, it's jumping up not in 1s but in 2s. But if you look again, every single division on the scale is labelled. And that makes it really easy to interpret again. Let's say this is a ruler now and it's talking about centimetres. If we measured the line and the end of the line was there, we could say it was 12 centimetres long. If the end of the line was there, we could say it was 18 centimetres long. Again, it's an easy scale to interpret because each division is clearly numbered. Same for this one. This time it's jumping up in 5s, but because each division is labelled, it's really easy to interpret. Our arrow is clearly pointing to 20. Our arrow is clearly pointing to 45. Again, this time the scale is jumping up not in 1s, not in 2s, not in 5s, but in 10s. But because each division is clearly labelled, it's really easy to interpret. Our arrow is pointing to 50. Our arrow is pointing to 100. Our arrow is pointing to 10. Now, interpreting scales, if they jump up in 1s, 2s, 5s, or 10s, when each division is clearly labelled, is, I think, quite simple. Just look where the arrow is pointing and read the number. However, not all scales are as easy to interpret. Let me show you an example. Now, this scale is much more challenging to interpret. The reason being, you've got certain markings on the scale which have not been labelled. Okay? This is where we need to take a more step-by-step approach to solving this. Now, this scale will be easy if my arrow is pointing here to a numbered division, but if my arrow is pointing here, it would be a little bit more tricky. So, we're going to take a step-by-step approach. Step 1 is we're going to use trial and error to work out what the scale is jumping up in. Our options, remember, it might be jumping up in 1s, it might be jumping up in 2s, it might be jumping up in 5s, it might be jumping up in 10s. Okay? So by that, I could start with a known one and say 2. Well, I'm going to always begin with the most simple option. If I count up in 1s, that's the most simple option. 2, 3, 4. Oh, that seems to work. Let's keep on going. 5, 6, that seems to work. 7, 8, 9, 10. So on this one, luckily, the first thing I tried was counting up in ones, and it worked. So I know that this scale is counting up in ones. Once I know it's counting up in ones, I can go to a close by numbered division to the one I'm looking for, and then count on in that number. So I know it's jumping up in ones, so I can go from 6, I jump up 1, takes me to 7. So if it's pointing down to here, I know it's 2, count on 1, takes me to 3. Up here, I know it's 10, counting on 1, takes me to 11. Okay, so I had this two-step approach. Step 1, work out what we're jumping up in. Step 2, use and apply that knowledge to work out what the unnumbered division means. Okay, have a go again. Now this scale looks completely different, but I'm going to use that same two-step approach. Step 1, trial and error to see what we're jumping up in. So I can start from a known division, which is 5. The easiest one is to count in ones, so let's try that. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it worked. Again, the first thing I tried worked, which is brilliant. So now if this was pointing here, I would know that we're counting up in ones. So I'll go to a close knowns division. 5, jump up in ones, 6, 7. Okay. Or if we're up here, I know 10, jumping up in ones, 11. Okay. So again, the scale looked totally different, but I took that same step-by-step approach. Okay. Here again, we have a scale with some unnumbered divisions. So it's a bit tricky. Let's say we're looking for this one here. Now, again, I'm going to take that same two-step approach. Step 1, trial and error. So I'm going to go to a known division and count up in ones. 2, 3, 4. Oh, that seems like a problem. That one didn't work. Okay, count up in ones didn't work. So what shall I try next? Aha, I know. Count up in 2s. 2, 4, 6. Fantastic. 8, 10. Yeah, it works. 12, 14. Brilliant. 16, 18, 20, 22. Brilliant. Now I know that we're jumping up in 2s. Now I can use this. I can go to a known division. 6, add on 2, gets me to 8. 14, add on 2, gets me to 16. Okay? So again, the scale looked completely different, but I used that same two-step approach. Step 1, use trial and error to work out what we're jumping up in. Step 2, use and apply that knowledge to work out what the unnumbered division is. Okay? Now, let's try this one. Okay, so let's say we're looking for that one there. Okay, so step 1, I need to work out what we're jumping up in. I'm going to start with trying ones. 5, 6, 7. Oh no, that doesn't work at all. Okay, ones didn't work. Let me try 2s. 5, 7, 9. That doesn't work. Ones didn't work. 2s didn't work. I know. Let's try 5s. 5, 10, 15. Yes. 20, 25. Excellent. 30, 35. Brilliant. 40, 45. Excellent. 50, 55. Wow. Yeah, ones didn't work, 2s didn't work, but 5s definitely did work. Okay, that's what I mean by trial and error. Keep going through until you find something that works. So now I know we're jumping on 5s. I can go to my known division that I know. 35, add on 5, takes me to 40. Let's do one more try problems like this. Okay, 10. Okay, so let's say we're looking for that one there. Okay, I'll try ones. 11, 12. Absolutely not. I'll try 2s. 12, 40. Absolutely not. I'll try 5s. 15, 20. Oh, absolutely not. I've tried 1s. I've tried 2s. I've tried 5s. What's left? Aha! That's right. Jumping up in 10s. 10, 20, 30. Brilliant. It seems to work. Let me keep on going. 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110. By using trial and error, I've discovered that this scale jumps up in equal jumps of 10. So now I know to go to a known division, 50, and jump on 10, takes me to 60. Okay. This is a tricky skill, and it's one that we get better at if we practice again and again and again. Okay? So spend some time practicing these skills. Once you think you might be able to do this, have a go at the activity 3, block graphs activity 3. See if you can use and apply this skill to solve these block graph problems. Now you can see on all of these graphs that I've made, I've deliberately created scales where not all of the divisions are numbered. So you're going to have to use the skills we've just practiced, because in order to interpret some of these charts, you're going to need to read divisions which are not clearly labelled. Let me show you what I mean. So here it says, how many books were sold on Tuesday? Well, sometimes I like to use a ruler when I do this. So let's get a ruler on. Well, oh dearie me, that wasn't what I wanted. Now you can see that on Tuesday, if I put my ruler on the top of Tuesday and follow it across, this point here, let me get a little pen. This point here, oh, that's far too big. A much smaller pen, please. Yeah, this point here is actually where I'm looking for. Now, my only problem is that that point there isn't actually a labelled scale, so I'm going to need to use trial and error. I'm going to try in ones. If that doesn't work, twos. If that doesn't work, fives. If that doesn't work, tens. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, excellent. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Brilliant. Jumping up in ones. The first thing I tried worked. So I know it's jumping up in ones. So I can go 1, 2, 3, 4. So I know that 4 books were sold on Tuesday. On this one, get a ruler again just in case we need it. On this one, it says how many pencils were sold in the shop. Here it says how many pencils were sold on a Friday. Now this is a nice easy one for you because this one actually points to a numbered division. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Let's have a look at this one. Let's get a ruler out. It says how many rubbers were sold in the shop. How many rubbers were sold on Thursday? Oh, another one which points to a numbered division. Let's have a look at rubbers sold on Monday. Ah, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. A tricky one. So let me get my little pen out again. So I'm looking there. That's the point I'm really looking at. Oh, let me get rid of that root. There we go. So that's an unnumbered division. So I'm going to use my trial and error. I'll start with ones. 10, 11, 12. That doesn't work. Let me try twos. 10, 12, 14. That doesn't work. Let me try fives. 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Yes, I've worked it out. It's jumping up in fives. So I can jump from 10 up to 15. Okay. Use and apply the skills you picked up from watching the reading scales video to interpret and solve these very, very tricky block diagram problems that I've set for you. Okay? Good luck.